Yes, people, welcome back to my channel. It's been a very long time, but I'm back. It's a new year, it's a new me, as people always say, but not really. Anyways, today I've got a lovely episode that I want to talk about. I've been having this idea for a very long time. It's about pastors' kids. Now, growing up as a Christian, you know that there are some realities that these people, not me, these people face, and I wanted to uncover it. I wanted to see why are they like that. So on my right, I got Simon, I got Darius, I got Gaddiel, and I got Nikita, and we're going to uncover their journey as we go. So I've got a couple of questions here, and I'll pull them up at any random moment. I'll ask some questions, and then we'll see where we go from there. But before we go, can you guys introduce yourselves? We'll start here. We'll go around, tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So, as Rudy said, my name is Nikita. Thank you so much for having us. I did say my name is Nikita. Okay, so I live in the west of Johannesburg. Mm-hmm. I am the youngest of 5 siblings. I'm very family orientated. Like, I love doing anything that's concerning family. Because I'm family orientated, I'm a people's person. Mm-hmm. So I love being around people, meeting new people. Like, I'm just that open person. Also, guys, please note I'm very bubbly. So if I do talk, the table won't be quiet.
Okay.
Just
at least.
That's a good thing, right? Yes. And yes, my mom's a pastor and I'm a PK.
Oh, I like that ending. And you, Dido?
Hi, I go by the name of Gaddiel. I am the firstborn of 3 girls. I'm a musician by calling and choice.
Hey.
That's all.
And you're a PK.
And I'm a PK.
I was wondering what PK meant. Yeah, but my name is Darius. Well, the family order, you guys are going to forgive me because I can't remember. We're lots.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a PK. I'm currently a worship leader at a church.
Best church in Johannesburg.
We wish. But yeah, I think there's not a lot to say about me. I think I'll just bust up before.
Wow, okay. Hello, my name is Simon, aka Cinnamon Buns. Don't ask questions, thank you. Yes, I'm 26. I'm also, I would consider myself a worship leader, but I play an instrument. I play bass and guitar. I also work as the manager of a recovery program for people who are struggling with substance abuse. Both my parents are pastors, as well as my uncle, so I am a pastor's kid. Yeah, I didn't choose that, but I am.
I'm really sorry, I'm not a pastor's kid, just so that you guys know. But before I get into it, I want to ask you guys, how has it been, for all of you, being a pastor's kid, in a few sentences? Growing up, how was it for you?
Well, we need to go back to the roots, like the background, like being Congolese, for instance. Like being a PK in a Congolese family, it's hectic because there's a lot of, how do you call that, prayer firefighting, which is demons every day. So it has been fun. I mean, the first period of being a PK, like me saying period as if you're born in, I'm a PK, no. But it takes a while to understand what it means to be a pastor's child. So it's fun, it's demanding, but you grow to enjoy it and understand what it means. Yeah. And
you, Simon, I mean, the name that you have, it's a huge, well, your surname rather, it's a huge one. So from your uncle's perspective as well as your parents' perspective, how was it for you?
It's been okay. It's been strange. I think I've throughout life, most pastors' kids probably struggle to find the balance between like what I want to do, even if it's a little bit out of bounds, and what I think I'm supposed to do, in terms of the image. So it's a balance, but I also think the trap is to not fall into being something you're not. You know what I mean? Whichever side that falls. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
Have you found that balance?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm getting there.
And you, Dido, how's it been for you, being a pastor's kid?
I think it wasn't always glamorous. People think that, being a pastor's kid, there are some people who think pastor's kids are actually the worst. They're actually up to no good. And there are some people who think it's so glamorous. Your father's the pastor. And it wasn't always like that for me. For me, it was, I can't do a lot of things that the other kids could do. So
What could they do?
listen to
What
worldly
did you want
music.
to do?
Listen to worldly music.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to in my household. So I had a long list of I can't do this rather than a list of things that I could just do. So it was really hard for me growing up. I'm fine now though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nikita?
So for me, I feel like growing up there was like a lot of discipline. It takes like a lot of discipline to be a PK's kid because there's always something that's expected of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to act a certain way, you have to do things in a certain way, and if it's not, like, there's always spectators, there's always somebody watching. So I would say also there's a lot of pressure. So yeah, you have to like keep up with doing everything that is right, that's correct, and if you don't, it's like it's just terrible. It's the worst thing ever. It's not an easy road being a PK because it's something that you're born into. You don't ask for it. It just happens. It comes your way. So it's like you get hurdles along the way, but that's why I feel like you mentioned, it has to be balanced. There has to be a balance. So as you grow, you find that balance, and now I can also say I found that balance, and I'm quite disciplined in my roots, and everything that is installed in me, it's godly, and I appreciate that.
So everyone here has given their life to Christ, right? Before I ask this question.
Yes.
Have you done that? Okay.
So could you guys please, in a few sentences, give us your salvation story? And then my second question, which you can answer later, does being a pastor's kid sometimes change the way you view the church?
Oh, that's a good one.
So you guys can decide how you want to do it.
I'll start. I said the table
Keep it.
won't be quiet. You go, girl. Okay, so my salvation story, I think I turned 13, and at that point you're about to go to high school. So you don't know like what's the next thing happening for you. Your emotions is all over the place. You've got peer pressure. You don't know what's happening to you. Like you're in just a whole mess. So my mother decided now I need to go to a camp, and she sent me to like a Christian camp. And it's like from the time, like I said, I was born into being a PK, but you go to church, you don't really understand these things. So at the age of 13, I'm just like, okay, I go to church, I know God, but like, I don't know, but I know. So I went to a camp, a Christian camp at the age of 13. And that was like from the Friday till the Sunday. The Saturday night, that was so nice. We had like a whole night of praise and worship. And like, I don't know, I felt so overwhelmed. Like, this was so amazing for me because I felt like this was the moment where I felt like the presence of God for the first time. I was crying, like I just couldn't understand like what's happening to me, and that was like the night that I like was like, God, I'm all in. So that's my salvation story. The second question, Rudy, you said, does
being a pastor's kid sometimes change the way you view the church?
It does. It does. To be honest, sometimes it does because you find different people every day in the church, and like your views change. But like honestly, it should not change you yourself, because once your view change, your perception change, and then it's just not godly anymore. So I feel like you need to find that balance, like because people will judge you, like that will always be something. So your views does change. You are human. It does, but you need to step back into that place of, look, I need to be godly and I need to be right.
And you, Simon? Your salvation story?
I don't have a moment. I don't have one thing that I can point to. Because I feel like, first of all, I was also born into it, right? So my whole life I've said, yes, I'm a Christian, yes, I believe. And I think that's true. But I think there was a period of maybe like a year or two, I don't know, where things just started to fall into place. You know what I mean? And like it just became a little bit more real to me personally. I think music played a big role in that, and understanding not just the music, but like the process of having to practice and rehearse and prepare and like put everything together for a purpose. I think that taught me a lot about what I think, and also observing my family and like what my parents do and stuff. Only when I got to the age where I really understood what was going on did I start to like go on that journey, you know what I mean? So I don't have a moment, like one specific day or anything, but maybe I'm still on that journey, you know, who knows?
It's always a journey, yeah.
But yeah, definitely it took place over time, that's for sure. And yes, it did change my perception of the church. I feel like it was a negative thing because I guess I have access to information maybe I shouldn't have, you know? And I'm like, oh man, I'm seeing behind the curtain, you know? Whereas other people maybe don't. I think you also can't really take a step back from it, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just attending church, you can choose what your level of involvement is, you know? And we can too, but maybe it's not as, there isn't as much difference, you know? So, yeah, but at the same time, it also gives you other things, you know? So as much as you might be frustrated by things you do see, you also get the chance to discover other things that other people also don't see, like all the hard work behind the scenes and everything, you know, that isn't there on a Sunday.
Before I go to the other two, I want to know, how did you deal with offense in the church?
With?
Offense.
What kind of offense?
Being offended at church, maybe things not going the way you wanted, or being hurt by the church, or whatever disappointment you received from the church. How did you deal with that? Because you said you got some access to some information. How did you handle that?
It's tough, man. It's difficult. You just, I guess the thing that you try and avoid, or that I try and avoid, is to say, okay, well, I'm done, I'm out. Because then how can you try and be better? How can you try and improve the situation? You know what I mean? So as much as you want to be out sometimes, it maybe isn't the best, you know what I mean? You have to be the change you want to see. That's what people say. So yeah, it sucks. I think maybe I've seen more that I don't like than other people who aren't that involved in the church. But like I say, you also got to take that with the good too, you know. Running away doesn't do much.
Yeah. And give us your salvation story. I know yours is a bit long, so could you?
I'm saved.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is with being growing up in a Christian family where your parents serve the Lord already, many people think that you don't have a choice. Like you either Christian or so there's no that option of I don't want to be a Christian. But I thank God for my family because I had that option.
Okay.
Yeah, my parent allowed me to choose Christianity if I wanted to. And I remember it wasn't something that was forced. So how I encountered the Lord is I challenged my parents. I challenged them. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of religion. There's Hinduism, there's Buddhism, there's all kinds of things. So what proves to me that Jesus is Jesus? What proves to me is real? And I was a kid, you know. My dad, I remember he did not have to tell me. But the only thing he told me is like, okay, any person who's real is a person who you can talk to. So try to see if you can talk to him. So one time I made that faithful prayer. It was just me in my room. And it wasn't like a prayer of, oh God, I want to see you. No. I was about to sleep and I was like, yeah, Jesus, if you're real, show me. And this is the part where I don't like to speak about, because people will never believe, but I did see Jesus in my dreams. He came and he spoke. I spoke to Jesus in my dream.
Deep stuff.
When I woke up and I told my father that I met Jesus, even him did not believe that I did. He wanted to, like, how is it like? What was it? All those details. The truth is, I saw Jesus and I knew. And it's just like when you see him, you have that belief that, this is the Lord.
That's right.
And from then, I became a believer. I was like, hey, here I am. What do you want me to do? You want me to serve? And my dad was really pleased with it. So I did not follow Christ because my parents were pastors. I experienced them myself. I saw him and I believed. What was the other question?
Does being a pastor's kid sometimes change the way you view the church? And I want to add, does being a worship leader, being very much involved in the church, does it change the way you see the church and people?
Well, it surely does. The church does not. It's not like a church to you. Like it becomes like a part of you. Like you are so much into the church that the change that's happening in your life, you want to see it in others.
Mm-hmm.
And it can even lead you to become like, how do you call it, like a lifeguard. Like you're checking on one another, like, are you doing fine?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not, you're not a bystander.
Like
You're
that.
pretty involved in whatever your parents are doing, you believe in it, and you want to see it fulfilled in other people's lives. So, yeah.
And you, Gaddiel, how did you come to Christ?
I think mine is similar to Darius, only that I wasn't forced to be a Christian, but if I said I'm not going to church on a Sunday, it was like, what are you doing? We were like, every Sunday we all going to church. It was not a question, you know. So I kept going to church, and I was singing at church. People were like, oh, you can really sing and stuff. And I was like, I asked God, I'm like, I'm singing and people are crying and but I don't know you like that, you know. So one day I prayed and I said, I want to feel you. I want to see you. I want to see what these people are talking about. And I remember that day in my room, I felt peace. You know, nobody had to speak to me. I didn't have to see anything. There's just this peace that I had never felt. And I said, this has to be God. And yeah, that's how I got you.
I want to know, you guys have mentioned, all of you have mentioned pressure. Pressure. And we know the saying, pastors' kids are the worst. Do you guys know where that comes from? And if it's true, why are they the worst?
Okay.
Do you know?
So, I'm so against this. Oh, God.
Because when I put up the questions on WhatsApp, I got that multiple times. Seems like you guys heard people going up.
Here it is, right? I think pastors' kids are not the worst. I think that your expectations of us are really high. We are not given enough room to make mistakes. And when we make those mistakes, we are judged severely.
Can I go the opposite side?
Yes.
Yes,
I
you
think
may.
some of us are pretty bad.
Why?
I'll tell you why. So I'm not saying everyone, right? But I'm saying I totally get where this comes from, because so many pastors' kids feel pressurized, right, to be a certain way, and they start lashing out. And when you're in that situation, you feel like you can only be the good pastor's kid or the awful pastor's kid. And it's like, well, I'm not counting it as the good pastor's kid. Let me just go this way. You know what I mean? There's that thing that, like, people with really strict parents learn how to be sneaky.
Yes.
You know? So I feel like people see those kids who are dealing with a lot of pressure, who reject it, and just kind of go all out, you know what I mean, as much as they can behind their parents' backs. That's where it comes from, you know. I know a couple of these people for sure. Yeah, that are a little bit dodgy, you know. But I think it's because of that pressure. You know
exactly.
what
I mean,
whereas someone like you probably managed to deal with the pressure well. Sometimes others can't. You know what I mean, and then just lash out the other direction.
Well, if I may, for me, it's you know, the freedom that my parent gave us to believe. I have a brother until today is not a believer.
Yeah,
He's the second born. Like, he actually went to practice, how do you call that? Witchcraft, like magic stuff. He let himself go. I reached the point where I saw it. I was like, okay, let me ask the question, God, are you real? I really, you know. But there are some of them were like, oh, you're giving me freedom, so bye-bye. I don't want to, you know, so they go forever. And because their parents are already pastors, people will just give them, because this kid's a ratchet. Look at my kid. You know, it is true that we are pastors' kids, but at the end of the day, our parents are parents.
Yeah, they're also just flawed humans.
They don't want to force us into something we don't want. So at the end of the day, you'll find people who choose to follow God, and those who do not. And the world just viewed as, wretched. You know.
And you, Nikita, do you think the pressure, do you think that phrase is warranted?
It is.
According to you. Don't worry, don't.
No? Okay. Well, according to me, I feel like social media is social media. It has a lot to do with the way they perceive pastors' kids. Because just to touch on the pressure, like you mentioned, you can absolutely go crazy because, like I mentioned, you have to act a certain way, you have to dress a certain way, you have to talk a certain way. If the pressure gets to you, you could either go left or you could go right. Once you go left and social media sees that you went left, you are the worst there is on earth. And that's the example they take. And it's just like where you had a moment and you were weak, but it's taken and it's there forever and it does not go away. So you become labeled. And I think that's why you get those kinds of questions, or you get the narrative that no, PK's kids are the worst. I don't think it's true. I just think that we also human and we do go through things. So that's my view on that.
And has that pressure had any impact on your personality?
I grew up very scared to do anything out of line. And I feel like that stunted me socially for a while until I figured out, hey, I'm a person. I can also be flawed. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's a reality for some people. You know, the pressure to, what if they find out and now my mom's gonna know that this happened and I'm gonna be a disgrace to the family. You know what I mean? There's definitely an element of that for me. I don't know about you.
And I know, before you go, I know you have a lovely tattoo on your leg and you sometimes display it on stage at church. What happened, like, the first time you walked on stage and that tattoo was seen?
Which one? Sorry.
Yeah, which one?
I've got a bunch.
Okay. Like, what do people say and how do you deal with that?
Bro, that's
criticism.
Yeah, that to me doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Now I'm a lot stronger in my mind. I can argue about a lot better. So what? You know what I mean? Both my parents have tattoos. They're both pastors. We don't find that problematic. Our whole ethos comes from, what are you doing in life? What are your actions, not what's on you? You know what I mean?
You want to say? Someone say?
Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So just to touch on what you just said, like the tattoo story. Growing up, the Leviticus scripture was like drilled into your head. I have no tattoos, guys. Nothing. And I'm even scared up until this point, you know, like to even get one, because sometimes you want to be cool. You know, you also want to experience. How would it feel like to have a tattoo? I've only gone as far as like, what, those ones that you...
Henna.
Not even like
those
ones
that
you
water.
yes,
When
with
you
the
were
water.
younger.
Yes, when we were younger, you know, you just feel like I made it. So I think that was one of the pressures growing up. No tattoo. So that was like heavily installed in me. So up until, but not that there's anything wrong.
I get it.
You know, so that was something for me growing up. The way we had to dress, yes, most definitely. You go to church, you would have to have like your skirt below your knees. Nothing should be showing. You should like dress appropriately for God. You know.
You two probably got that worse than we did.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah, because we
Have you ever
go.
been told not to wear skirts instead of
Don't dress like that. Why are you showing your body?
Yes.
You must hide it.
Yes.
Why are my shoulders disturbing you?
Yeah.
That's the
You're
real
a
question.
living body of Christ. Like, represent well. So, for me, growing up, I had a strict parent or strict parents. So there was a certain code that I had to follow, and I don't know if it like hypnotized me, but there's a certain way.
That's a big word. So it looks
Wrong
like you're
word.
still dealing with all of that criticism because it really affected your personality. Because the question here is, how did it affect your personality?
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
he mentioned only now he's no longer stunted socially, and you say
Most definitely.
you were like hypnotized.
Yeah.
Hypnotized or hypnotized?
Hypnotized.
Hypnotized, you know. Yeah. So.
Maybe the word is a bit harsh, but
Yeah,
like
but I
in the
see
lines
the context.
of
Yeah, I see the
yes.
context. Yeah.
So yes, really sorry to
No problem.
just interrupt you. So having strict parents, most definitely, I have to agree with you 110%. Growing up, I was not as outspoken as I am right now. Like, I had to learn those things. Because having strict parents, I never used to talk like I was just quiet. So it does affect. Oh, it affected me.
For me, I think growing up, PK, a lot of PKs grow up hypocrites. I don't know if that's.
I'd agree.
Fully
I'd agree.
agree.
Yeah.
There's
Women
certain,
are wild.
there's certain things that we like, but we'll never show that.
Yeah.
We like it behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I
that's
like
the
dressing a
problem.
certain type of way, but I'm gonna change at my friend's house because if I leave the house like that, then
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many things that I had to be like, okay, God, what is happening? Is how I'm dressed really bad? If it's bad, convince me. Because when I started now changing, becoming myself and not who people expected me to be, people are like, she's rebelling. Oh my God, it's the
Yeah.
demons. Oh my
PKs
God.
are the worst.
Right.
I see.
Yeah.
The demons that her
You guys
father
have
chases,
issues.
it's entering her. Like,
I hear that a lot. Yeah, I hear that one a lot.
I think that's crazy. I started being myself, and I started being on my own journey and navigating my own Christian life. And then I was like, if I stop doing something, that means that the Holy Spirit convinced me, not because somebody forced me. So half of my life, I grew up being somebody that I wasn't. I had to be like, no, I don't actually listen to this. And I'm like, Beyonce? You know? And so it was really tough. It was really tough.
And you did?
For me, it's a different experience. Like, I had to go to a Bible school for 3 years. Because I remember after receiving Christ, there was just a lot of do's and don'ts. You know? So I was like, no, wait, let me learn about the Bible. So that when they speak to me, at least I'll have where to refer myself. So I remember in the past, you know, in Congo, wearing a skinny jean as a pastor's son
Was a no.
Really?
Torn jean was a no. Now, questions will come. You're like, okay, so what did skinny jean do to Jesus? I'm like, they'll give you a verse that says a man cannot wear a woman's clothes and women cannot wear a man's clothes. And I'm like, but Dad, Jesus was wearing a robe, man. Like, it was man robe and female robe. No, you know, it's not just how you, and it's pressure. But at the end of the day, I try to understand the heart of God. Where is the heart of God? Music, obviously, is the big part of it.
Oh, yes.
I used to love Michael Jackson. But my dad found a way to make me not love him.
Found a way.
Michael Jackson also found a way to make us not love him.
No, like,
Oh, yes.
So we know, bro.
people tell me that music is an offering. Like, there is always an intention behind it.
So deep.
So when you're listening to it, just look at everyone who listens to it. Where is their life? Like, are they normal? Are they doing, you know? So those are things when you hear, you're like, okay, am I also participating in this? And then freely, you start figuring out. You're
That's the
like,
key word.
Yeah.
Freely.
you know what? I'm not listening to this anymore. I'm not wearing skinny jeans. But I went back to it. I'm not wearing skinny jeans anymore. Just for now. Because even Paul said, to the gentle, as to the Gentiles. To the believers, as to the believers. So for the sake of peace, I didn't wear skinny jean. But my dad couldn't find a verse to convince me that skinny jean was somehow demonic.
Yeah. Speed, babe.
So the only thing I
Just
want to
what
do,
jeans, bro.
if you convince me that it's demonic, then yeah, sure, I won't do it.
Yeah.
But if it's just your opinion, I won't do it to you, but after that, yeah.
So I know you guys serve, the three of you serve in the church, you guys sing, you're in the background administration. So were you guys forced to do that? Were you guys forced to serve in the church? How did you guys find yourselves in the positions you're in, Nikita?
So for me, growing up, like being a PK's kid, you like already doing things. So I was already from a young age doing spiritual dancing. I was in the Sunday school. After that, I became like a mini Sunday school teacher. After that, it went on to like, because as you're growing, you go into the youth, and it's not in like Sunday school departments anymore. You go into the youth. And then, so there was this one event that the church had, and everything was just falling apart. And I was like, look, why don't we do it like this, like this, like this, like this? Somehow everything just came together. And then we're like, wow, you gotta give. Like, this is where you need to be. Yes. So like,
So some get tongues, some get this.
That-
yeah. Go on.
so like, that's how it just came that I became the glue. I was like, okay, well, seeing how this whole thing turned out, I am actually quite good at it. So I was like, okay, Lord, let me do your will.
It's that.
Yes.
And you?
So I grew up singing with Rudy, actually.
I didn't sing, I played drums.
He was in my group. And I was just doing it for fun.
Yeah, it was very fun.
It was extremely fun, and you had people you love, you had your friends. So every Sunday after church, you gather, you listen to a song, you try work on it. So for me, it was just fun. Until they started telling me, I think you have a gift. And I was like, no, God, I think not, you know. So I did not want to be a worship leader or whatever. But nobody forced me to. I think the Holy Spirit himself convinced me and said, this is your purpose. And I was like, okay. It took long, but I accepted eventually, and yeah.
Darius?
Well, for me, I did not know that I could sing. But
Oh,
my
he
mom,
can sing.
You
This
did
guy
not
can
know.
sing. How did you not know?
Did you not?
I didn't. Like, I did not grow up like singing or anything.
Okay.
Like my mom used to tell me that for me to sleep, like when before they received Christ, they had to play disco music of Tina Turner as a baby.
Man,
That's
this is
when
some
I-
good
Okay.
stuff growing
I
up.
used to
Wow.
sleep- yeah, I used to sleep on
Okay.
Tina Turner. When I wake up, my mom will say, even crying, she just need to sing in my mouth. Then I'll stop. And so one day when they opened the church, I remember I was 6 or 7, my mom just gave me a mic and was like, sing. And my dad still kept that record. And I just started singing. I'll sing and people will be like, oh, I'm like,
That's me every Sunday.
and then for me it was like, nah, I'm a pastor's kids. They're just doing that to impress my parents. So yeah, so that's how I
Wow.
Ended up serving.
ended up serving.
And I want to quickly go somewhere else. How was it? Because the church you're in now, it took you a while to get to where you're at.
Yeah.
How was that journey for you?
Well,
And now that you're in, because now you're coming into a place where a lot of people were together as a group for a while. You're coming into that. How has that been for you?
well, it's challenging, but when you are at the right place, you know, people are obviously they will be welcoming, and you'll feel more welcome and more free to do what you want to do. Through the challenges, through there are certain sets of rules that you need to follow. But when a place feels more like home, it's immediate, like it's automatic. You belong, and God just blesses you to do what you're called to do.
Evidently so. Yes, you, Simon. How did you find yourselves? How did you find yourself being an MD?
Oh yeah,
Medical
jeez.
director?
Wild.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't forced. I don't think my parents forced us to be involved. I will also just say this for the record. My brother is 7 years older than me, and my sister's 8 years older than me. So I think they may have had a different experience. You know, I think my parents became a lot more forward-thinking by the time I was growing up.
Okay.
But none of us were forced to serve or whatever. Honestly, I was like, this place has like electric guitars and stuff. Sign me up. You know?
Cool.
I wish it was more than that, but I think that's actually just what happened. And then I started to discover all the other things. Started to put a lot of time and effort into my craft or whatever, and learning from others. I think also just having to be open to other things. You mentioned finding the right place. For me, it was the right place was the wrong place. You know, like I'm very distinct in that area because most of the place is not white. Most of the place was from very different musical backgrounds, and I was like, "That's cool. That's going to push me further." And I feel like that's how I got skilled enough to progress in that role. You know what I mean? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's good.
Cool.
I have a question here. Have you guys ever felt neglected by your parents because of the work they did at church?
I'll start. Yes.
Oh, are you okay? Does it still hurt today?
No, today I'm okay.
Yeah,
'cause
but like back
fully
then, how was it for
understand. Back then, yes, I did because I was still in primary school. And it's like you want your parent to be at every parents' meeting, but somehow they just can't meet it because there's some weekly prayer that they need to do, or devotion, or something that they need to attend. And you're like, oh God, can you please just split the time? Like, let my teacher just see that I have a parent.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah, so it was like, God, all the way. Yeah. So, but eventually, like, you get into a place where you understand. And she also sat me down and she was like, look, this is why and this is that. And then, like, over time, most definitely, she kind of balanced the situation. So, yes, back then, I was still in primary school. I mean, like, I know I'm going to church, but I still want my mommy at my parents' meeting. So, but over time, most definitely there became a balance because I guess they also parents at the end of the day, like, they also just want to see you happy and they understand that education is important and they need to be there.
Yeah.
Even if they have to sit at homework or whatever.
And before I come to you guys, you mentioned off camera that
Yes.
your dad's Muslim and your mom's a pastor.
Yes.
And you keep mentioning your household. How's that dynamics today and how was it then?
Okay, so because of the religion aspect, my parents is not together. So yeah, my father didn't want to leave his religion. My mother's obviously not going to be like, no. So both of them was just conflicted and they went their separate ways. So let's see. I'd go visit my father, but they both kind of agreed on the aspect of like, don't force anything on me.
Okay.
Whatever I freely choose and decide on, that's what I can do. You know, but I lived with my mother, and so like I would visit my father, but I'd live with my mother. So that presence enough was strong enough. You know, and because of the things that I've seen with her and how God has blessed her and just elevated her from level to level, I wanted that for myself, and it became a part of who I am and who I was. So I respected the fact that this was my father's religion, or is his religion. It was okay. So there was kind of a balance, and he also respected the fact that, look, I'm not going to choose for my child. She doesn't need to choose. And my mother was also like, and I just fell into my mother's ways of doing things, the godly way. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
question.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
And you, Simon, did you ever feel neglected because your parents head up a very huge department at church, a very important department at church, Hands of Compassion, and a lot of their time is taking care of these people, you know what I'm saying? So, did you ever feel neglected because of your parents' ministry?
Honestly, I don't think so. Like I said, my parents are very focused on like what you do, you know what I mean? Not just, so for example, a Sunday was not the only day, you know what I mean? Like every day had to be a good, holy day where you're doing the best you can. I didn't felt neglected. I felt annoyed sometimes that I had to spend like the whole day at church when I was supposed to be playing PlayStation, you know? But no, honestly, I haven't felt neglected, no.
And you, Dee?
Well, for me, it's actually a funny thing. I wasn't neglected, but my mother was just very strict, a lot, and mostly boys. So she was very watchful. Now, when I received Christ, I started preaching Christ to my school, and my school had a lot of kids. I was talking to one person. That one person invited another person until I find myself surrounded by 100 people wanting to hear about God. So now the twist is those people, most people be girls.
Okay, Darius, alright, we did it. Okay.
One time I was sick and I did not show up to school, and there were about 40 or 30 people coming to visit. And it was all girls in uniform. And they kept knocking at the front door of my house, and Mom opened and see 30 people standing outside. No, we came to see him. And girls only. Now, the first thing she did, she went inside and started yelling at me. What did you do at school? Why is there 30 girls outside wanting to see you? And then I'm there coughing. I'm like, Mom, why don't you first of all let them in and find out why they're here? She goes and calls my dad. So no, we came to see the chief.
Oh no.
I came out, they were all happy, but Mom was very pissed. She was very pissed. It's like, that's why every day you come here, you smell women. And I'm like, so what do you mean? And I cried to them like that, but it's not that.
Not what you think.
Yeah, so that's the harsh part, because my mom viewed me differently, viewed me a player, you know, which I'm a boy, which I wasn't. You know, and it was hard to convey that to Mom, that look, I'm not what you think. And she ended up believing that that's who I am. And that's the sad part. Most of the time she won't show up at school, receiving probably work. I understood it was work, she was busy, but yeah, it was just a bit of tension. Yeah.
Are you okay with it now?
Well, yeah, I'm fine.
You sure?
Yeah, living with it.
And you, Dino?
I'm so sorry, first of all.
That's how he gets all the girls.
Yeah. What is the question again?
Did you ever feel neglected by your parents?
Okay. I never felt neglected, and now growing up, I don't know how they did it. I always felt like my parents were around, and now I'm more grateful because I'm like, you guys must have worked double to make sure that you were there for me and made me feel supported. Now though, sometimes I get annoyed because I feel like I share my parents with the whole world. Like sometimes just be my dad, just be my mom. Now there's like 50,000 people say, Mom, Dad, and I'm just like, but no, you know? So I'm still trying to get used to that or be okay with that. So yeah, that's where I am.
If you guys have the choice and you have to go back in time, would you still choose to be born to pastor pastor parents? Or no? Would you want them to be, I don't know, a doctor, engineer, a soccer player, or whatever?
100%. I love
Do
it
it
here.
again.
Yes.
Yo.
I feel like somebody like me, God, I was telling her off camera that God doesn't do anything for nothing. Or it's not by mistake. Or it's not by chance. So if I'm born in this family, he knows why. And I always say, God knew I needed my parents, because if it wasn't for my parents, guys, I promise you, I'll be somewhere today, you know. So I feel like I would do it 100%. I love working with my parents. I love serving God with my parents. It's a part of my life. I love the church. 100%, guys, again and again. So yeah.
And you, Nikita?
Again and again.
Keep.
I'm gonna narrate what she just said. Most definitely, like sometimes it's difficult, but like, cause like there's just some things growing up that you did not choose, but like everything worked out, and like reading the Bible, like everything works out according to His will and His glory, for His glory. I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm happy.
Oh yeah, I think I'll choose them to be servants because it avoids the cheating. So they are always in peace, you know. And when your parents are in peace, kids are in peace.
Yes.
So them being servants actually helped us grow well, you know, avoiding all those drama of couples drama. Yeah. So again and again.
And you, Simon?
Not again and again.
Just again.
Just maybe once. Yeah. By that I mean like, I'm very happy that my parents are the type of Christians that they are. If they were other pastors, like if I had to take a roll of the dice and I knew that it wouldn't be like that type of their belief systems, their thingy, I'd say no, I'm good. You know, give me someone else. Yeah. But also like I'm just very grateful for their specific style. You know what I mean? Not again and again though.
Just again.
Just once.
I have 2 more questions. Did your parents ever practice what they preached at home?
Mine live it.
Yeah.
You know, my parents have a very big focus on making sure that the people who have less get what they need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's been their whole life, and that's any kind of discrimination that applies to whether it's like poverty, whether it's gender, whether it's religious, whatever it is, they've lived that their whole life. There's a track record of it. So yeah, shout out to them.
It's a good example for you to follow as you grow and your life.
Yeah.
And Darius, what's the question again? Do they ever practice what they preach? So at church they will say this, and at home would they do the same thing?
Well, yeah, it is true. Like, first of all, you know what they preach to them as well. So when they go home, they are also like, they're not pastors anymore. They're 2 people trying to live together. And what I love is, though it took them a lot to really practice what they were preaching, but they went for it. They did go for it, and they did try to the best of their ability to live for what they preach. So,
100%. I feel like my dad's whole thing, he hates sickness. My dad hates sickness because he lost a lot of his siblings because of like very small sickness, like flu, for example, and they just die, and so he hates it with all of, and he feels like, he believes, we should all believe that as well, that Christ has already conquered everything at the cross. So why are we sick, you know? So what he preaches at church is, first of all, he doesn't believe in medicine. We can, but he believes in praying first. So I see my dad sometimes leave the house at 5 a.m. Everybody's asleep. He'll go to somebody's house because they're sick. My dad will do that. My dad will be on the phone with you. My dad will travel to pray for somebody. And I feel like he's the most selfless person I know. So 110%.
Most definitely. That's all I've seen my whole life. And I think that's why I'm also a people's person, because I've seen my mother also go out to people. Like, she's always reaching out. There was this one Christmas we've done it a few times, but like this one was dedicated to like just the old age homes where we went there, and we just like, I don't know, my mother, she's amazing. Sorry guys. So she got like transportation for them to like go out for the day because they're just stuck in the retirement place, and she organized the transport, the food, everything, the venue. They had such a nice outing for them. You know, like, that's why I can just say, like, I've seen God's glory in her life, and she's only practiced exactly what she's preached. So she's always out there doing something for somebody. So yeah.
I got 2 more questions. I added one more. The second last one is, if you had to give advice to new generation parents who are pastors, what would you give to them?
Hey man, just chill. You know, like,
Hey man.
just be easy about it. You know, like you don't have to be perfect. It's okay. I feel like it takes a long time for kids to realize that their parents are not perfect. But mine communicated that to me, so you know it was okay. I would say practice what you preach is a good one, but also maybe also just start by preaching what you practice. You know what I mean? Like start with what you do, and then you have the ability to tell someone else about that. You know what I mean? That's what I want to say.
Well, to really take them as a church, like they really need to consider that their family are like a second church.
It's not the first church?
Well, the first church is what God gave you, like it's the nation. That's the first church, right? So your family is like your second church. Because at the end of the day, our parents, they get so submerged to the first church and they forget that, hey, these kids are what God gave. We are the first disciple. So before even you go there and boast of how powerful you are as a pastor, start with your own home. Fix your house, fix your kids, then bring them to the world with you. Yeah, that's
For me, I'd say don't treat your kids like your congregation. I think just be their parents. Be my dad, be my mom. That's all I need. That's all a kid needs. That's all.
That's true. For me, I think just always to be completely honest. If there's some things that you can't explain, just try and explain it, because they will understand. This new generation, oh my word. Oh my word. Because you don't want them going astray, because they're going to be going or facing the same things that you did. So like you mentioned, just be a parent, you know, and just instill the ways of God. From there, everything else will flow. It will take its course.
And my last question, where do you guys think Christianity is today? Because I feel like a lot of pastors did a lot of damage, or rather a lot of people allowed pastors to do damage to them, or they got disappointed or got hurt, or whatever the case is. A lot of disappointment and heartache is following this generation today, in my opinion. So where do you guys think Christianity is today right now, Simon?
I think that's a whole other episode.
Yes, you're actually leading me into another episode.
But I think I'll just say this. I think it's very important for everyone, whatever your belief system is, to like just do your own research. You know, figure out what you believe, read what's there. Don't just take everything in without like some sort of filter. You know what I mean? There has to be that discernment as well. I'll stop there.
Yeah. Darius?
Well, it's like I say, there's a lot to say around it. But all I could say today's Christianity is it's loose. It's very loose. Like the Christianity is not what it used to be. And I don't know, it will just take God to bring us back to what we need to be preaching for this era, for this generation, with technology, with all kinds of things, genders. Yeah, so
it's tough, really.
It's tough.
Nikita?
I think it's crucial. At this point, it's really crucial. Because not that I want to go into the Old Testament. Yes, I understand that things change and we modernize over time. But a lot of things that's being displayed now, even on social media or into the world or in the generation of today, those things you don't even know. Like now it's like so freely, it's open, and it just does not collide with what the Bible says or what God wants us to do. So I feel like it's very crucial, and more we see like the times of revelation, everything is coming to pass. So it's very crucial at this point.
I think I agree strongly with what Darius said. I think Christianity today has been watered down too much. I feel like the truth has started offending people. Pastors don't know what to preach anymore, and it's like it's in the Bible. You know, I feel like we're blending in with the world instead of influencing the world. So it's watered down a lot.
Alright, that's it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I hope your perspective changed even a little bit for these lovely people. There's four people at the end of the day, and God loves them. So yes, I want to say thank you to Darius, Simon, Nikita, and Gaddiel for coming. Shout out to Leonie and JD at the back of the camera. It's your boy, really Samuel, and I'm signing all the way out.